I think we are recording. All right. Hey, hello, Dana.
Hi.
I am Jason Wallace. I am the program director for the San Francisco Indie Shorts Festival 2022. Welcome to our audiences. Thanks for being here. Thanks for just watching the program Pretty Clever, an eclectic group of short films. We're lucky enough to have the director. Are you the writer as well?
I'm the writer and director. Yeah.
The writer and director of Short Term Rental here with us for a one-on-one Q&A because no one else joined. So glad to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Happy to get chosen to be in the film festival. Thank
Yeah,
you.
congratulations. Well, your film merits it. It was quite not only just well made, beautiful, great production value, all the necessary stuff, but very moody and, for lack of a better word, creepy, a little haunting.
Creepy is a good word. I wanted it to be creepy.
If I could, if I would have had a program of Halloween type shorts or in preparation for Halloween, this would have been a
Hmm.
good one. So, first off, real quick, just in case, give an elevator pitch of what this film's about. Just tell us really quick, introduce yourself again, and just tell us what the film's about briefly.
Okay, I'm Dana Stevens, and I'm the director and writer of Short Term Rental, which is a film about a young woman who is going through a breakup and kind of gets on the road and doesn't really know where she's going to end up, and she decides to get an Airbnb for one night, and she ends up meeting this older woman who's a widow who runs the Airbnb. And little does she know that she might be renting a room, but the lady who runs the Airbnb might be renting her body for the evening. That's the best way to describe it.
Gives me the chills just hearing the description. Uh, so, where did this idea come from?
Well, the first thing is I have always found Airbnbs to be creepy. I mean, I have been in some very creepy Airbnbs where you wonder, there's like an adjoining door into the house, or, it just seems that the decor is usually kind of funky. Not all Airbnbs, of course, but
Well,
in
there's a
general.
whole, and sorry to, I want you to keep going, but there's this whole like uh, economy around like haunted hotels and touristy sites that have spooky rooms and stuff like that.
Yeah, people actually want to do those things. This is more of a moment when you get into a place and you're thinking, am I in my son will call it the purge house, and should we run? Should we just leave and go to a Motel 6, but also one of the big things, and I think is sort of an extra layer to this movie, is I was very much inspired by the loneliness pandemic, which within the COVID pandemic,
mm, mm,
especially for older people. My mother, for instance, who is a widow, has been just powerfully lonely and also afraid to see people
mm,
because of the COVID. And also, I think inside of that too, if you're a woman of a certain age living alone, you don't have physical touch. You don't have um, somebody who hugs you or just touches you. And that was another thing I wanted to explore. I wanted it to be a young woman with some heartbreak and an older woman with some heartbreak, and
yeah, it worked really
explore
well.
this little magical tale.
Yeah, nicely, the themes nicely brought together, woven together, and relevant and entertaining at the same time. Have you ever been in a place that seems spooky or haunted? You said your son describes places as the Purge House.
Yeah, no, we have been,
I have too.
actually, I do think that the places have energy, and I'm very interested in that in general. I mean, I did make this film as kind of a calling card for a full-length film that I've written for myself to direct.
Hmm,
It's not the same story. It's not, exactly this kind of body snatch story,
right.
but it is about um, an older woman and a younger woman, and kind of a rivalry that
Hmm,
they have. And it's also about a haunted house.
hmm.
um, so I I do believe that spaces have energies, that can, and also if you bring your own energy, that's a little bit accepting, or can sort of read the energy. The weird
Yeah.
things can happen.
And then, how is your mom, and how did she do with the pandemic and
Oh,
loneliness?
well, she's fine. She never got COVID, but she hasn't really recovered from the isolation. Um, she just really wants to stay home a lot,
Yeah.
and as hard as we try to get her to do things, I really do think the pandemic changed things for her, changed the sort of trajectory of her old age. She won't be watching this because she never wants to do Zoom. I couldn't get her to do like Zoom yoga or even Zoom with me. Like I find that when you're seeing someone's face, it's a very different kind of conversation. And she doesn't like doing, computer stuff. So if in
Right.
the pandemic, if you don't like that, you're really cut off.
Right, right. I can relate to everything you're saying so much, both with my mother, with the haunted spaces, with the loneliness, with the technology barrier with your parents. I can totally relate.
I think
Um,
a lot of people do. Yeah.
yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to this film. And then, did you shoot this during the pandemic? Were there any?
I did.
What were some of the challenges,
Yeah.
pandemic-wise or otherwise?
Yeah, well, I shot this movie in Charleston, South Carolina.
Hmm.
I have worked there before in the industry in television, and I got to know crew, and I got to know my producer Sharon Grassi, and I thought that it would be easier during the pandemic to shoot it in Charleston. And in fact, the house that we are shooting in is featured in The Notebook, actually, and some other
Ah,
movies.
it's very cinematic. The
I
visual is just very beautiful.
I thought it would look more haunted, to be in Charleston. I find Charleston, since it's such an old city, it's one of the oldest cities in America, next to San Francisco, which is
Yeah,
also spooky.
yeah.
Anyway, it was hard because I really wanted to cast our lead actress, Peggy, um, and she's a SAG actress. And so I decided to go ahead and do the SAG protocols, which added, money to the thing because I had to get everybody tested. And then
Right.
ironically, a lot of the guys that were on my crew were also working on stuff like Outer Banks and stuff that was going on in the southeast there.
Yeah.
And they literally had just been tested by Outer Banks the day before, or even the day of, you know. So it was a bit, I don't know, of a bureaucratic rigmarole, but we had to do it. And
I'm a filmmaker myself, and I've had to go through those processes as well.
yeah, and also I wanted to keep Peggy, not that she's in great shape and very
Right.
healthy. I did call her and say, "Is this bothering you? Do you not want to do it?" And she was very gung ho to do it, and everybody. But like for instance, there's a kiss in the movie, and I
Uh-huh.
did tell them, if you don't feel comfortable doing the kiss, we can figure something else out. But they were okay with it.
Got it. And
Somebody joining us, or
no, no, did someone join it? I don't think so. No.
no?
And is Peggy's the younger,
No, she's
she's you? Okay. Is she live there, or she live in LA?
she lives in Florida.
Okay. Got it.
But she works a lot. She's been on Walking Dead. She works a lot in that area
Yeah.
in the Southeast.
Um, the acting, speaking of Peggy and the other, Sailor?
Taylor, yeah.
Excellent acting too. Very believable, very authentic. How was it working with them?
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, we shot it in 2 days, and um,
Did you cast them? Like, did you audition for these people, or you knew you wanted to work with them, or?
I actually did auditions because I was looking for people in the Southeast. I
Oh,
I knew someone who was a casting director out there, and he, brought me a group of people, not just them, but and I had to do the auditions all on Zoom like this.
mm,
Um,
wow.
but it wasn't. I'm very happy with the actors I got, and I had them come, to Charleston and stay with me in a house that I had rented, and we had a little time to rehearse and stuff like that.
So it was only a 2 day shoot. What about pre-production? How long was that?
Well, pre-production was kind of catch as catch can with the COVID. I would have Zoom meetings with the DP. We had one location, like recce, like a tech scout. We had one day, the day before we shot, where we had a tech scout.
Right.
So, you know,
So you were sight unseen until you went the day before for the scout. Like you kind of location scouted online.
yeah.
Wow. Wow.
And it made for some, most people that make short films. I mean, you really have to kind of go on the run. And one of the intriguing things about the movie, just as it happens production wise, is the little rental apartment is upstairs
Okay.
and in the actual home. But we couldn't really shoot everything we wanted to shoot up there. So we created the rental apartment in the downstairs area,
Ah.
but we made it seem like you were going upstairs to the apartment.
Tricky filmmaking.
Yeah, but
Oh,
it really enabled us. The DP really wanted to do some dolly shots and stuff like that, and I did too. We didn't want to do handheld. We wanted to do more smooth kind of
yeah.
movement with the camera.
So I think if I'm remember correctly, you've written other things. Have you directed other things?
No, I've never directed, but I have written quite a few films. I actually wrote the movie The Woman King, which is out right now.
Oh,
I,
fantastic.
I
Can't wait to see
highly
it.
recommend you all go see it. It's
All my
really,
friends are recommending on Facebook. That's getting accolades. So well done on that.
thank you.
And so then, anything you learned about directing? So you're a first-time director.
Oh yeah, I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes, and I'm very excited to try to do it again and remedy my mistakes. I think one of the biggest things is just there's so many people around you with ideas, which I love. I'm very collaborative in that way, certainly as a writer. But when you're the director and you're just like you have 2 days and everybody's suggesting things, you really need to not get too influenced. You need to kind of know to stay the course. That would be one thing that I would say that I.
And by know the state, of course, like have a focus and a vision like that you can easily say yes
That's
or
right,
no.
because
Yeah.
people all are like, hey, we could do this, we could do that. Easy, it would be easier. I have a one of those what's that thing? What are those flying things? Drone. I have a
Well,
drone shot
you have
in
a
the
flying thing. Yeah,
beginning. And
the opening drone shot is beautiful.
yeah, I mean, I really wanted that drone shot, and my DP, who I loved and who was great, Phil, he just didn't want to do that, but I wanted to, but I wanted also he and I to be a team. So,
Mm.
in the end, we both compromised to the well, I don't know, we shouldn't say compromise, but in the end, we both were able to listen to each other's desires. And I think the movie is, got a lot of great stuff because of Phil. And also, I think I was right about the drone shot.
Yeah.
But I just think when I go into it again, I really, really want to give myself a lot more time to be very certain about every shot, so that when people suggest different shots, I can just remind myself, okay, why did I want this one?
Yeah, so true. That's good advice for directors, first-time directors. Yeah, because you got to be kind of on the spot, decisive in the
Mhm.
moment with all these influences coming at you.
Yeah, and then what happens is you say, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And then later on you're in the editing room and you're going, no, oh shit.
Yeah. Or why didn't I get that? Or why didn't I stand my ground? Um, Ultimately, I mean, so, maybe the benefit or basically choosing who you hire too, like your collaboration with Phil, that's important too. Like you all have to have the project kind of first, if you will, right?
Yeah.
If it's
And
ego
I think
first,
we did. I think we did.
yeah, it sounds like. Well, in the film you did, it came out, right?
Yeah.
In the end, it surfaced to make a good little film. Any anecdotes or funny moments? Any like, did you see any ghosts in the house? Did you have to dig a car out of the ditch? I don't know, rainstorms, animals.
We
This,
really didn't. We were so isolated back there in that house. We could really
how big was your
control.
crew?
How big was it? Oh gosh. I don't know, maybe 25
Well, I asked
people.
because then were they all local? Did you put them up? What? What'd you do?
I only had to put up one person.
Oh, okay.
I was able to get a lot of local crew because they're doing a lot of shows there. Danny McBride does his shows there in Charleston. And I had my producer Sharon is a local, so she
Okay.
could really like pull in favors and get guys. And the thing that was the most amazing, I mean, I did pay the crew, but not having to put them up is, huge.
Yeah.
But the thing that was great was how game they were. Like they really dug it. We had fun doing it, and they seemed to be okay to do it and to sort of, take their weekend up doing this little film. So
Yeah. Well, they should be proud of it. It's a great little film. I enjoyed it. It really has a mood, an atmosphere. Don't you think?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I really like I don't know, as it gets to be nighttime, the colors that we used, and I really loved working with the production designer, finding all those weird um things that are on the tables that you can
you
cut through.
feel like you are there.
Oh,
You're in
good,
South
good. I really
Carolina.
love that. I love that texture. I'm glad to hear you say that because I wanted that. And
That
those are
that was the
things.
thing that stood out first for me that made me, engrossed was the atmosphere. It's three dimensional, if you will. It's like I'm in that little spooky Airbnb with the woman, and it was well done.
Thank
Congrats.
you. That's
Yeah.
great. Thanks.
Any last words? We're going to wrap this up. All the time we have. Do you want to add anything or tell us where we can learn more about you and your filmmaking?
Uh, well, I'm on Twitter at Anaday, Anaday. I'm, trying to kick off I'm trying to get funding for my feature. So
Ah,
I don't have anything to report yet, but you kind of
so was this
know.
made was this
Mhm.
made in the plan and process to raise funding, or
Yeah,
was it
it's a kind of
a
a calling card, it's kind of showing people,
but
in
was that
my.
always your plan to for the feature launch, or were you always just going to make a short standalone short, so to speak?
No, I really did make the short because um, in my career as a writer, I tend to write love stories. I mean, even The Woman King is a surprise for people because it's an action movie, and I'm finding that people are saying, "Oh, Dana writes action." I wanted to do this scary movie, and people were like, "But you don't do scary movies. Why don't you do, a Nick Sparks type thing?"
Yeah,
Because I've done that. But so I decided to make the film to also, also obviously for me to get my feet wet, but also to
right.
show people, okay, I can make this kind of film. So now we're gonna hopefully attach maybe a name actor and try to raise the money for the feature.
Well, excellent. Well, it's an excellent calling card.
Thank you.
Well
It's
done.
been really great to be meeting other short filmmakers and just sort of I've been seeing a lot of short films and they're so good. So it's been fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for making the film. I'm going to wrap this up. Pleasure
Okay.
meeting you, and that's all the time we have. So thanks for watching this Q&A, everybody. Check out more independent films at the San Francisco Short Film Festival 2022. All right, so long.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.